Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing good. You all are safe and healthy at your home. The language is Stutima Bashista and we are meeting for our social science history class. In today's class, we will be taking up the second part of the chapter, The Great Uprising of 1857. If you can remember, we have already started with this chapter where we, in the last class, where we have talked about the Khurda uprising, and in today's class, we will be looking into the causes of the revolt of 1857. So without much delay, let's get started with the chapter. And from your today's class, your learning objective will be you will be able to understand all the causes that are responsible for the uprising or the revolt of 1857. All right, so here are the causes. The first cause is discontentment among the ruling families. Discontentment means unhappiness. All right, so we can remember that the British policies, the British have introduced the subsidiary alliance and the doctrine of lapse. Right. So what was the subsidiary alliance? The subsidiary alliance said that that the ruler has to enter into an agreement with the British, and in return the British will provide protection to the rulers from any kind of attack from enemy. And when any Indian ruler signs the subsidiary alliance or the agreement, in that way, the ruler has to give up almost all its freedom, right? If you can remember. And the doctrine of lapse was what? The doctrine of lapse was that if any ruler did not have any higher, all right, then without any higher, then that kingdom of that particular ruler will directly come under the control of the British. But also, according to the Hindu law, they had a provision for adoption of a son. But what did the British do? That they hardly allowed the rulers to adopt sons because they knew that if they allowed to adopt any son, then that particular place will go out of their hand. So that was the doctrine of lapse, that if any ruler died without any natural hire, then that particular place would directly come under the control of the British. So the British policies like the subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse, when it was introduced, it angered many Indian rulers, all right? And also because why did they anger? It angered the rulers because doctrine of lapse and the subsidiary alliance, it made many Indian rulers to lose their powers, and the British started to take control of their ruling places. The court proceedings were monitored by their residents. So if you can remember in the subsidiary alliance, that the British said that a resident, who was a resident, a British official, will stay in the courts, in the king's court, right? So to see whatever is going on in the king's place, right? So the every court proceedings, so everything of the kings related, the court proceedings were now monitored were looked after by the resident was the British official, because of which the rulers, they almost lost their freedom. They were just like a puppet in the hands of the British officers. They were just named for the namesake, they were just made the king. Otherwise, all the functioning are done by the British officers. So the British did not recognize the claim of the adopted son, and the doctrine of lapse also, the British, they did not recognize. They did not allow adoption of son, because they knew that if they allowed that any adoption, then that place would go out of their hand. So they did not allow adoption of son to Rani Lakshmi Bai, all right, of Jhansi as the heir to the kingdom. So all these were many reasons that were piling up among the Indian people. The British also refused to pay pension to ex-Peshwa Bajirao II to his adopted son Nana Sahib. So Nana Sahib was the adopted son of ex-Peshwa Bajirao II, and the British also refused to pay pension to Nana Sahib after the death of his father, Peshwa Bajirao II. And also in 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh, all right? And also in 1801, when a subsidiary alliance was imposed, then the Lord Dalhousie annexed the entire kingdom of Awadh, saying that why did he capture the kingdom of Awadh, saying that the ruler of Awadh was not able to rule the kingdom, that there was misgovernance. All right, that is why Lord Dalhousie removed the Nawab of Awadh, who was Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, and took Awadh under its total control. All right, and because of this, it totally angered the people of Awadh that their Nawab was dethroned, and that now Nawab came under the control of the British. Another reason for discontentment was Lord Dalhousie also declared that after the death of the ruler Bahadur Shah Jafar, his entire family would be shifted from their residence of Red Fort. All right, another declaration that was made by Lord Dalhousie, which angered the people of India, that he said, Lord Dalhousie said that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar, his family will be shifted from their residence of Red Fort. All right, and also in 1856, the Governor General Lord Canning, he also announced that, he also said, they declared that Bahadur Shah Jafar will be their last Mughal ruler, and after Bahadur Shah Jafar, there will be no descendants. Nobody can become a Mughal ruler. Nobody will be recognized as king. All right, and rather they will be just called as princes. So this also angered the Indians. So thus, gradually, all the powers of the kings and the Nawabs were taken over by the company, which led to the oppose the British. So we saw that all the kings and that the British took away all the powers from the kings and the Nawabs, because of which it angered all of them and also the common people of India, and all these reasons led to anger among the Indians. So these are the various reasons of discontentment among the ruling families. First was because of doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance. Through both these methods, many rulers, they started to lose their control over India, over their kingdom, right? Second, Rani Lakshmibai was not allowed to allowed her adopted son as the heir to the kingdom, right? And third was Nana Sahib was not given pension of his father Peshwa Bajirao II, right? Number four, also Lord Dalhousie dethroned Nawab of Awadh, who was Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, right? And also he annexed the kingdom of Awadh, right? The fifth was he declared that Lord Dalhousie, that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar, who is the last Mughal emperor, his family will be shifted to Red Fort. The sixth reason was that Lord Canning declared that no one can become a king after Bahadur Shah Jafar. Rather there will be no descendants, and they will be not called as kings, rather as princes. And all these reasons were it contributed towards the discontentment among the ruling families. So let's move to the next cause. The next cause was resentment among peasants and artisans. Resentment means opposition. Now there was also opposition among the peasants and artisans. First one was the resentment or unhappiness among the ruling class. Next one is among the peasants and the artisans. Now let's look into that, why there was resentment among the peasants and artisans. So the British introduced, we got to know in the previous chapter also that the British introduced many policies, economic exploitation of India, right? So those British policies that were introduced by the British, it actually exploited the Indians, and it affected all the sections of the society, right? So what did they do? The peasants and zamindars resented the high revenue. I think in our last chapter, beginning of colonial rule in India, we also got to know that the British charged levied taxes, lot of taxes were collected, lot of revenues were collected from the poor people, right? And they were also exploited by the money lenders, who confiscated their land for failure to pay back the loans. And also moneylenders exploited the poor Indians. If they were not able to repay the loan, then their land was taken away. Right. Then one of the British economic policy was another British economic policy which was introduced was the commercialization of agriculture. So what does commercialization of agriculture means? Commercialization of agriculture means that British paid attention in growing up only those crops which brought them profit, like the cultivation of indigo. All right. So when commercialization of agriculture was introduced, then the village economy got destroyed. So all those farmers who used to crop other crops, like used to be dependent on various other crops. Now, after commercialization of crops, now they could not cultivate their own crops. Now they have to only grow those crops which the British wanted. That is the indigo. All right. So in that way, the village economy also got destroyed. Then the British policy also discouraged handicrafts. So Indian handicrafts, like making of any kind of bamboo weaving or bamboo craft, any kind of Indian handicraft, it also lost importance. Why? Because they sought Indian market uh, for the cheap British manufactured goods. So what did the British do? They will manufacture some goods in British, and they will bring those goods and sell in higher prices in India. In that way, the local industry or the handicraft industry of the local Indians, it got destroyed. All right. Because of this, it resulted in the incoming of many British machine-made goods. So the British, they started to bring all their machine-made goods to the Indian market, and as a result, the traditional Indian handicraft, it started to get destroyed. It started to lose importance, right? So many Indians were actually earning their livelihood from this Indian handicraft. So, but after the destruction of this Indian handicraft, also many families' livelihood got hampered, right? The artisans and craftspersons were ruined and were forced to look for alternate sources of income. So after the but that after the Indian handicraft were discouraged, after that many families, they were not finding any source of income. So it affected their lives a lot. All right, and this led to many people to look for alternative source of income. Now they did not have any proper source of income. There was commercialization of agriculture. They could not cultivate the crops of their own choice. Indian handicrafts, which used to be a main source of income, that also got destroyed. So Indian people were having a very hard time. So the displacement of the Indian rulers increased the miseries of the people. So as we saw that many rulers and the Nawabs, they also started to lose their power. So after that only, actually the miseries of the people, common people, it started to increase. All right. Thus, corrupt and unresponsive administration and the new economic policies affected all. So all these policies that were introduced by the British, it not only affected the rulers and the Nawabs, but also it affected the peasants, the artisans, the zamindars, everyone, like all section of the society, all got affected because of the exploitative policies that were introduced by the British. So this was the second reason for the cause of revolt of 1857. The third was Indian response to reforms. So what happened? The third reason for discontentment was that the Indian sepoys, they felt that that the British was trying to bring a threat to their religion. How? The Charter Act of 1813 permitted Christian missionaries to come to India under the license to carry out proselytizing activities. So there was the act called the Charter Act of 1813, and according to this act, it gave permission to the Christians to come to India and to carry out proselytizing activities. Proselytizing means conversion, to convert someone to another religion. So when this act was passed, so when the Indians saw that many Christian missionaries are coming to India, they feared that their own religion was a threat. All right. And also the Charter Act of 1813 also allowed the Christian missionaries to have their own land in India. So when the Indian people saw that the British were allowing the Christian missionaries with so many of privileges, their doubt got firm that that British was trying to convert them to another religion. And also in 1850, a new law was passed which said that if which said that a convert to Christianity will be allowed to inherit the property of his ancestors. So it's to see how clever this British were. They said that they passed a law in 1850 which said that if somebody would convert to Christianity, they will be allowed to inherit the property of their ancestors. So the British thought that by showing some greed of land, people would convert themselves to Christianity. And also many educational institutions were brought to India to spread English education and to spread the knowledge of Christianity, all right, to speak more about Christian religion. So the British passed several laws to reform the Indian society, and also we know that the British tried to reform the Indian society by by encouraging widow remarriage, by abolishing sati. So the Orthodox Indian society, they thought that by reforming the Indian society, the British were actually trying to change their religion. So all these activities of the British of bringing Christian missionaries to India and allowing them to carry out proselytizing activities, giving land to the Christian missionaries, and spreading knowledge about Christian religion. All these activities of the British, built a fear among the Indians that the Christian religion was actually posing a threat for their own religion. So this was cause number 3, that the fear of conversion to another religion. Point number 4, discontent among sepoys. So the sepoys mean soldiers, all right. So the soldiers who used to work under the British, under the English East India Company, had several reasons for being unhappy, and this became also another reason for the cause for the revolt of 1857. First one, there was unsatisfactory condition of work. All right, they were not given, the Indian soldiers were not given good working conditions. All right, and also they were not given proper food. They were not given proper place to stay. On the other hand, the British soldiers were given all the facilities. So there was discrimination between the Indian soldiers and the British soldiers. All right, and also they were treated with great contempt. The Indian soldiers were insulted every time, and also they were always addressed as pigs. All right, and also the Indian soldiers were paid less in comparison to the British soldiers. All right, and also the Indian soldiers were not given the full payment of bhatta. What is bhatta? Bhatta is a special or additional allowance, or it's like a bonus, all right, which is paid to the soldiers for fighting wars in distant places, especially outside India, like Sindh or Punjab. All right, so so there was very much discrimination between Indian soldiers and the British soldiers. They were not given proper food. They were not given proper place to stay. They were not given proper working condition. They were paid less. Alright, they were addressed as pigs. They were insulted, the Indian soldiers, and also they were not given the full payment of bhatta, which is an additional allowance. And also, many times the British, they violated many religious beliefs of the Indians. Like one, the Indians believed that if they crossed the sea, it was not allowed by Indian religion. Like no, they did not like crossing the sea. It was prohibited as per the religion. The crossing of sea was not allowed. And also many people believe that if they cross the sea, then that would lead to their loss of religion. Now, why did not they wanted to cross the sea? Because it was their religious belief that if they cross the sea, that will lead to their loss of religion. So many people refused to go to Rangoon in Myanmar. Alright, they did not wanted to go and give their service there. But they said that they will go and provide their service if they were allowed to go through land route. All right, but those who did not agree to go through the sea route, but agreed to go through they agreed to go through the land route, they were punished by the British. All right. So in 1856, again, the clever British, what did they do? They passed a new act known as the General Service Enlistment Act, and this act said that any future future Indian sepoys who will be recruited to the East India Company, they will have to give their service abroad, all right, outside of India, all right. If even if they even if that such activity will hurt their religious sentiment, only then they will be allowed to work, all right. So the British, they made a law forcing the Indian sepoys to cross the sea. So the annexation, so we remember that Lord Dalhousie annexed Awadh, right? And most of the Indian sepoys, they belong to Awadh, all right, and they felt, like insulted or and they felt inferior when their Nawab was overthrown, all right, and they were not at all happy that Awadh came under the control of the British, all right, and all these reasons actually led to the discontentment among the sepoys. So so you got to know what led to the discontentment among the sepoys. First of all, there was discrimination between Indian sepoys and the British sepoys, and also the Indian sepoys were forced to cross the sea, which was against their religious belief, and also the British, they made a law that the future recruits will have to provide their service overseas. All right, and all this hurt the religious sentiments of the Indian sepoys, and this angered them, all right. And also that Awadh came under the control of the British, they also did not like that fact. The last cause of the reason, and which is also the immediate cause of the reason, was the greased cartridge. So the British, what happened? They introduced a new rifle, all right, and they replaced the old musket by a new rifle known as the Enfield rifle. And with the introduction of this new Enfield rifle, this became the immediate cause, or the main cause for the revolt of 1857. So as you can see in the picture here, this Enfield rifle had a cartridge. What is a cartridge? Cartridge is the place where the gunpowder is stored, all right? And the cartridge has a paper, greased paper, and it was believed that the greased paper was made up with pig and beef fat, all right, and it was again against the religious belief of the Hindus and the Muslims to bite or to take that greased beef or pig fat to their mouth. So the British, they made this, that they forced the Indian sepoys or the Hindus and the Muslims to bite this greased paper, which was made out of beef and pig fat. And but the Indians refused to bite it because it was against their religious beliefs. So they believed that the British were purposefully trying to, not do this to make them go against their religion, and this incident became the main reason for the Great Uprising of 1857. So these are the 5 main causes. The first was the discontentment among the ruling families. That is your first cause. The second cause was resentment or opposition among the peasants and artisans. The third was Indian responses to reforms where economic exploitation was made. The fourth cause was discontentment among the sepoys, and the last cause was the immediate cause, that is the biting of the greased paper of the cartridge, which was made out of pig and beef fat. All right, students, with this we come to the end of our class. I hope you have learned new things in today's class. You have learned all the 5 causes of the Great Revolt of 1857. With this, we come to an end of today's class. We shall meet in the next class with a few more new topics. Till then, everyone, take care and thank you.